If you're tuning in today, you're about to dive into the fascinating world of firewalls. Now, before you go thinking this is just about protecting your computer, let me tell you, it's so much more than that. Whether you're an everyday internet user, a gamer, or a business owner, understanding firewalls is crucial in today's digital age. So grab your coffee, sit back, and let's get into some eye-opening facts about firewalls. Fact 1. The concept of firewalls. Did you know that the term firewall actually originated from the construction industry? Just like physical firewalls in buildings prevent the spread of fire, digital firewalls protect networks from threats. The concept was borrowed when the digital world started encountering security issues back in the 80s. The first firewall wasn't as complex as what we see today. It essentially monitored traffic going in and out of networks based on a set of pre-existing rules. It was like a simple filter. But today, firewalls have evolved into much more sophisticated systems. They're not just sitting there, watching data come and go. They're actively working to prevent unauthorized access, identify potential threats, and even adjust their own rules based on new types of attacks. So while the name comes from the idea of preventing the spread of fire, firewalls today are more like dynamic defense systems that constantly evolve with the threats they face. Fact 2. Types of firewalls. Not all firewalls are created equal. We've got different types, each serving a unique purpose. Let's break them down. First, there's the packet filtering firewall. Think of this as your most basic form of protection. It inspects each data packet that tries to enter your network and decides whether to allow or block it based on a set of rules. It's fast and efficient, but it doesn't know what's inside the packet. It's purely looking at the outside. So while it can block certain addresses or protocols, it's not the best at deeper inspection. Next up, we've got stateful inspection firewalls. These are a bit smarter. Not only do they look at the data packets, but they also understand the state of the connection. In other words, they know whether the data coming in is part of a legitimate, ongoing session or something suspicious. This makes them much better at stopping certain kinds of attacks. And then, we've got application layer firewalls. These take things a step further by analyzing the actual content of the data, not just the packet headers. They can prevent specific applications or services from being exploited. For example, if a hacker is trying to exploit a flaw in your web browser, an application layer firewall can block that attempt based on the type of data being sent. So, if you're running a business or handling sensitive information, it's a good idea to have multiple layers of protection, just like have you block your doors, have a security alarm, and maybe even use security cameras at home. The more layers you have, the harder it is for a cybercriminal to get through. Fact 3. How do firewalls work? Imagine your computer is a grand castle. The firewall acts as your vigilant guard, carefully screening every visitor at the gates. It checks the addresses and the rules before allowing or denying entry. It does this through techniques like IP filtering, which is when the firewall looks at the source or destination address to decide whether the packet should be allowed. Then there's port filtering, where the firewall determines whether the packet is trying to use a service, like a web browser. Fact 4. Firewall and network security. Now, here's an important point. Just having a firewall alone isn't enough. In fact, it's part of a layered security strategy. What does that mean? Well, think of it this way. When you're trying to protect a treasure, you don't just put it in a vault and hope for the best. You add layers of security. Maybe you hide the vault, add guards, and use codes. The same goes for protecting your digital assets. A firewall is one layer, but you also need things like antivirus programs, which scan for known threats like malware or viruses. Then there's intrusion detection systems, IDS, and intrusion prevention systems, IPS, which can detect and sometimes stop attacks before they cause damage. And don't forget about user education. People are often the weakest link in security, so making sure employees and users are trained to recognize phishing attempts and use strong passwords is essential. So remember, a firewall is a critical part of your defense, but it's just one piece of the puzzle. You need a well-rounded approach to truly keep your network safe. Fact 5. Misconceptions about firewalls. Let's clear up a common myth. Some people think that firewalls can protect against all cyber threats, but that's not the case. Firewalls are great for stopping knowable threats, things that follow certain patterns or are based on known vulnerabilities.